Hey guys, yeah, I'm here to give you, and let me just straighten this out a little bit. Here we go. But I'm here to give you my live, and I'm going to double check stuff here to make sure that you are watching this live. And yeah, you are. So I do apologize for a little bit of waviness. I think it's because it's focusing a little bit. So I do apologize for that. But anyway, I wanted to come on here give you my thoughts on Survivor Series this year. Another brand, easy for me to say, another brand supremacy themed version of the event. And this time it included NXT. The reason being is NXT is now on USA. And appropriately, for anybody that did watch Survivor Series tonight, yes, NXT did go over. NXT did go over in this event. They went over the way they should have. Now, did NXT have a clean sweep? No, they did not have a clean sweep. However, they won the matches that mattered. They did win the matches that mattered, and that's all you could really ask for, is they won the matches that mattered the most for them in the long run. Hey, hold on for a second. You can probably hear me still, but like I said, they won the matches that mattered in the long run, is what they did. And I'm actually glad that they did that, because when you have one of your brands going head to head with another brand, and basically, hold on for a second, if anything happens, I do apologize. But basically, I'm going to switch this over to sports for a second. Well, sports category, that is. So I do apologize if anything happens. But like I was saying, it's good that they allowed NXT to go over the way it did, because you're, like I was saying, you're in this war when one of your brands is in this war for wrestling supremacy with another promotion's show. Then you want to do what you can to put that brand over, show that that brand is the more superior brand. You know what I'm saying? So you want to do that in the long run. Like I say, you want to do that in the long run, because you want to prove, like I said, to anybody that's watching, any wrestling fans that are watching, that your brand, the brand you're putting over here, is the more superior wrestling brand overall. And that's what should matter. That is what should matter in the long run. So yeah, basically that's what happened tonight. But like I said, it wasn't a clean sweep or anything like that. It was more along the lines of, okay, we're gonna put these people over. We're gonna, put them over in the matches that matter the most. Like, kind of, basically to me, it was like they were showing the strengths of what brand is more superior in the long run. So that's mainly what it was tonight. It was mainly about putting NXT over in a big way when it mattered. Um, so that's what happened. That's what occurred. And again, like I said, I'm kind of glad that they went that direction. I'm kind of glad that they went in that direction the way they did. Hold on for a sec. Be right up there in a moment. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of glad that they did that. I'm kind of glad that they gave, NXT the nod, when they did. Because, like I said, you're trying to establish NXT on equal footing, and that's what they did here tonight, when it mattered the most. And what's interesting, and a lot of people pointed this out, was for the first time ever, you actually had the pre-show matches count. Not that they've ever counted before, but because it's brand supremacy, you had them actually count. For example, like I said, for example, you had this match that was made during the day. It was kind of like a last-minute match. It was an over-the-top rope battle royal tri-branded match where the winning team got a trophy. I don't know what that means. My guess is it's a World Cup trophy, but what would that matter if you gave a trophy to the OC as the best in the world? What's the point of this? My thought process is they gave this trophy to the winning team of the brand, making them not only the winning team, the best tag team to win the Battle Royal, but basically solidifying their brand's tag team division as the division to beat in WWE, or as the more superior division. That's, I think, the reason they did it. Now, the team that won the pre-show match on that was Ziggler and Rude, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. So I guess they're still pushing them as a tag team because they got nothing else to do for them individually. Although I think they are getting ready to push Robert out on his own eventually. And I don't think this whole thing with him and Dolph is going to last much longer. Now, the other match that they had was a triple threat Cruiserweight Championship for the NXT/WWE Cruiserweight title. It was Lio Rush defending against Kalisto and Akira Tozawa. Now, I didn't watch the match, but apparently some people said it was not the best Cruiserweight match they could do, especially when it's NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. But they said it was alright, it was decent. Lio Rush won, which pretty much was predictable because, what's the point of having someone like Kalisto from SmackDown or Akira from Raw winning the belt out and becoming Cruiserweight Champion if it means you either got to move one of them to NXT or you're moving the Cruiserweight title either back to Raw or to SmackDown. Didn't make any sense. So, yeah, they did end up winning the match a little bit. And I'm just checking something here for a second. It looks like I'm looking at my phone, if it's a little off balance. It doesn't look, I think it's just the design of my case, my phone case right now, that makes it look like that. So I do apologize. Let me see. No, it's my case. It's my case. It just makes it look a little different. So I do apologize. Let me just move that back a little bit. See if there's anything that happened. No? Okay, good. But yeah. Anyway, though, Leo wins. So the score at the time is 1-1. SmackDown, NXT, 1-1, Raw 0. That would change when the Viking Raiders ended up winning the Triple Threat Tag Team Champions versus Champions match between them, New Day, and Undisputed Era. And that would be Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Now, some people are a little upset about this, but I think Alex, just recently in his review that he did moments ago, Deluxe Man that is, kind of said it best. That, it was kind of like well, what are you going to really bump? Which match are you bumping? You really don't have a choice here. So they went with the tag team one. And I know a lot of fans. A lot of fans are upset that, WWE is basically showing that they never considered Kofi to be a main event player. But there are also fans like Alex here, with all due respect, like the Lex Man, that basically felt like, well, if Kofi's complacent where he is and doesn't really care the fact that he was a former WWE champion and now he's just back to where he was before, why should we? And I think the way Kofi's being played off here, because there's rumors going around you might get a heel turn down the line. I don't know when, which would break up the New Day, but the way it's being played off, either for story or legitimately real life, is Kofi's just happy he had the run that he had. Even if it's going to be his only run, he's happy to be at least acknowledged as one of the men that held the WWE Championship among a list of all the other superstars that did before him. So, if that's the role he's playing in story and in real life, who are we to really judge, I guess. But yeah, the Viking Raiders ended up winning. I think they ended up beating Undisputed Era to win. So, yeah, they ended up winning that. Then we get to the start of the legitimate pay-per-view itself. We start off with the women's Survivor Series match. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I saw the women's and I even saw the men's, I don't know what it is, but it kind of gave me a flashback to the original Survivor Series. Let me explain. You see, back in the day, when the original Survivor Series, the first two actually happened, and then they kind of brought this back a little bit in the early 2010s, early to mid 2010s, I believe. And I think even the mid to early 2000s, or mostly the late, not early, but the mid to late 2000s, I should say. And then, like I said, they tried bringing it back a little bit in the early to mid 2010s. It reminded me a lot of those Survivor Series. Because it reminded me a lot of, you had all these superstars, all these wrestlers. And it was like, man, that's a bunch of talent. That's pretty cool. You don't get to see that much talent array all together at once. Now, the underlying story throughout the night was NXT was the most unified. And I'll be honest, the way they played it up, there is no doubt they were. Give credit where credit is due. Because apparently the story that's being played up here is if Raw and SmackDown would have just for one night put their differences aside and said, look, this is about the brand, not about ego, they would have been successful. And this is a good example of that, because on Team SmackDown, okay, you had Sasha Banks, you had Nikki Cross, you had Lacey Evans, you had Carmella, and who else did you have? You had Sasha, you had Nikki, you had Carmella, you had Lacey Evans, and I'm trying to think who else did they have. I can't really remember. Can't really recall who they had as well. Trying to think. I know they had somebody else. Hold on for a sec, guys. Let me look at something in my history book here. I'm going to go back to Alex's review here. See who they had. NXT. Okay. Oh, okay. They had Nikki Cross, Sasha, Carmella, Nikki Cross, Natalya, and Lacey. That's who they had. Not Natalya, not Lacey. Dana, that's who it was. I do apologize for that. They had Dana Brooke on their team. I don't know why I overlooked that. But yeah, they had Dana Brooke on the team. And Raw had Charlotte, the Kabuki Warriors, that being Asuka and Kairi Sane, the women's tag team champions. They had Sarah Logan, which surprised a lot of people. And let me check again here who else they had. And Natalya. So you had Charlotte, the Kabuki Warriors, Sarah Logan, and Natalya for Team Raw. And like I said, on Team SmackDown, you had Sasha, Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, Carmella, and Lacey Evans. Now, Team NXT, that was announced last night after TakeOver War Games. And it was announced it would be Rhea Ripley. It would be, well, Rhea Ripley, obviously. But you had Candice LeRae, Io Shirai. You had Bianca Belair, I believe. And who else did they have? They had also, who else did they have here? Yeah, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, and Toni Storm. Yeah, Toni Storm of NXT UK. And this match was good. This was a good opener for the women. I know some people may not agree that it was the best for the women, and that some of the women from like NXT UK, well, at least Toni Storm in this case, did not look good. But I'll be honest with you. I thought they all shined great. There was a moment in the match when a lot of chaos just broke out. Everybody was getting in the ring, trying to get the stuff in, get them, spotlight in and all that. There was a moment during all that where Iro and Candice went down with an injury. And they were playing up the fact that they were still suffering from last night's War Games, which a lot of people have said is great storytelling because you're connecting the two things. Like, was it a good... Because as a fan, because if you're a fan of that, of wrestling and good storytelling, especially continuity when it comes to that, you wonder to yourself, was it a good idea for Rhea to name these two as a part of her team, knowing what they went through? So, anyway, it was just Rhea there along with Toni and Bianca. And throughout the match, you had some eliminations. Carmella, she ended up getting eliminated. Basically, it came down. Basically, here's the thing. So, it came down to Sasha Banks and Natalya, Sasha from SmackDown, Natalya from Raw, against Bianca and Rhea. And then it just came down to Rhea against Natalya and Sasha, and then it came down to Sasha and Rhea because Sasha basically sucker punched Natalya, basically living up to the model that you don't trust Sasha Banks. You never trust this woman. And here's the thing about Sasha. Here's the thing about her and Bayley's situation right now. I think the storyline that's being built to help with these two is basically as far as the women's division goes, you don't trust anybody, not even your you can make allies and friends, but when it comes to being the top female, don't trust anybody. DTA, don't trust anybody. And if that's the storyline they might be going with or trying to go with, then I say good. At least it would give more, to me, it would give more importance to the women's roster, not just on SmackDown, but on both brands, and if you will, by indicating, hey, these women are telling you that nobody can be trusted anywhere. Even if they're your best friend, they can't be trusted because they want what you have. So, anyway, what happens is that it comes down to, like I said, Sasha and Rhea. They have a good little exchange. And during this exchange, when it looks like Sasha is about to probably put Rhea away, out comes Iro and Candice. Iro and Candice come out to support Rhea. And what's interesting about this is you have a moment. What I'm saying is, what's interesting about this is during that moment, you have two individuals here, and Candice LeRae and Io Shirai, that are currently feuding somewhat on NXT, and yet they're running out side by side, and they're working together. So what happened? Did the feud just end because of brand supremacy, or is it on pause? What's going on? So, and I'll address that in a bit. But yeah, basically, they come out, they help Rhea out. Rhea hits the Riptide on Sasha, gets the win for the Team NXT. NXT goes up 2-1. So NXT is on a roll. And WWE, I'm guessing Vince McMahon's cool with this as well, because it looks like they're building up Rhea Ripley, not only to be the one that beats Shayna Baszler for the championship, and I'll get into Shayna in a little bit too, but they're also building her up to maybe be a future women's champion on either Raw or SmackDown. I preferably like to see her become a surprise challenger for Bayley on SmackDown, beat Bayley for the belt, and have a dominant run there. That would be something I would like to see. Because I think, honestly, it'd be a great story, like comeuppance. Like Bayley's all cocky, should challenge anybody. Out comes Rhea, Riptide, 1, 2, 3. To me, it would make sense. To me, it would honestly make sense. I know some people may not agree with that, but you know what? You know, unless you're planning to turn Bayley back into a face, but with this new edgy attitude, with Sasha turning on her, I don't see any other way. So yeah, Rhea wins. Team NXT wins. So NXT is up, like I said, 2-1. So next up, we get another brand supremacy triple threat. It's the battle of the upper mid-card championships. It's Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, United States Champion AJ Styles, and North American Champion Roderick Strong. And I said this on Twitter, and Joseph Winters, if you're watching, thank you for the reply, the retweet. He basically said, and Joseph Winters, you can actually see in the super chats for Deluxe Man during his live chats and his Twitter. Basically, when I mentioned that if you took Shin out of the equation, you know what you had here? If you took Shinsuke out of the equation, what you had here was AJ Styles and Roderick Strong, right? If you would have one-on-one, take Shinsuke out of the equation and just put Roderick against AJ one-on-one. You know what you had? You had a TNA/ROH match in a WWE ring at a WWE Big Four pay-per-view is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, if you would have put Shinsuke to the side, take him out of the equation, and just focused on Roderick and AJ, you had TNA. You had a TNA/ROH match one-on-one in a WWE ring at a Big Four WWE pay-per-view. Because if you would have said 14 years ago when both were in Total Nonstop Action TNA, now Impact Wrestling, if you would have told them and us that watched them there, as well as the time going between both promotions, TNA and Ring of Honor, if you would have said, oh yeah, 15 years later, they're going to be competing against each other, both as champions of two of the three respective brands in WWE at a Big Four pay-per-view for brand supremacy, no one would have believed you. You go back in time and tell AJ and Roderick of the past, they wouldn't have believed you. And yet here we were. And this was a good match. I'll give it that. It was good. It wasn't the best, but it was good. In the end, AJ hits the phenomenal forearm. Roderick and he's going to go for the pinfall, but Roderick comes in because Roderick was knocked out to the outside, so he's, playing the game. He's thinking, okay, he's looking for an opportunity, and he gets it because as soon as AJ hits the phenomenal forearm on Shinsuke, Roderick, and AJ's going for the pin, Roderick comes in, pushes AJ off, hooks Shinsuke's leg, and gets the pinfall, and helps NXT go up 3-1. So basically, it's pretty much written right now that NXT is being pushed as a superior brand, all because they're on the USA Network. And some might say, well, why was that? Now, some might ask, well, why is that the case? Why are they being pushed? Why are they being pushed? Why was the brand being pushed? It's kind of very similar to when SmackDown, I believe, what was it, 2007, 2008, when they went to the Sci-Fi Network? Yeah, they went to Sci-Fi one time. Was it Sci-Fi or USA? I can't remember. It was one of them. But it was at that time, they did a lot of stuff, WWE did, to push SmackDown as the superior brand. They put JR over there. They put certain superstars over there. They did what they could. They even put SmackDown over at Survivor Series that year. Or at that time. So, you're seeing something similar here about 10, 11 years later with NXT. NXT's on USA at 2 hours. They're going head-to-head with a rival promotion show and All Elite Wrestling's Dynamite on TNT. So you got to do whatever you can to push that brand as the superior brand to watch, as the brand to see over the other two more established brands. So, yeah, they're up 3-1. It's pretty much written that they're going to win. So we get a bit of a break from that for a bit. We get a bit of a break, I should say. And we focus on the NXT Championship between Pete Dunne and Adam Cole. They both, I will give them credit, both were selling their injuries very well from the previous night in their respective matches. And I'll give it this. I'll give NXT this. If this is what you get on a weekly basis at times, or every other weekly basis, then it's no wonder why WWE decided to push NXT to the forefront here. These two put on a clinic. These two put on a clinic, put on a match that really just, people could say the Chicago crowd was dead for a bit. This match woke them up. Because there were counters between the two out of each other's respective moveset. And it came down to the fact that there was a move on the outside on the apron. So, basically what happened is, Adam Cole tried to go for the Panama Sunrise earlier in the match. He couldn't do it. So, they get a moment where they go to the outside. Pete Dunne's on the apron. Adam Cole goes to the top rope, or the second rope, and hits a freaking easy for me to say, Panama Sunrise, I should say. Adam Cole hits a freaking Panama Sunrise on the apron onto Pete Dunne. That's what he does. But that's not enough to put Pete Dunne away. And even before that, I think Pete Dunne tries to go for some kind of moonsault or something off the top. Adam Cole freaking super kicks him in the head. Doesn't put him away. And then I think we get the thing on the outside with the Panama Sunrise on the apron. Doesn't put him away. Pete Dunne hits the bitter end. That doesn't work. And I think that was before the apron situation. Or around that time frame. And then, when Pete Dunne tries to go for it again, Adam Cole reverses it into a freaking Panama Sunrise, hits the last shot afterwards, wins the match. Adam Cole remains NXT champion, but there's a reason for that. It's because they're setting him up for Tommaso Ciampa. That's what's going to happen. So yeah, Adam Cole retains the NXT championship in an NXT classic, especially for a first NXT championship match on a major pay-per-view. What I consider a classic. Then we get the WWE Championship match, or the WWE Universal Championship match, I should say. The Fiend Bray Wyatt against Daniel Bryan. This was a decent matchup. And look, I understand a lot of people don't like the red lighting. I told Alex, the Lex Man on Twitter, in a response, because I knew he was going to say something about the red lighting. I knew the Slag Daddy Jeff of OTRS Central was going to say something. And I basically told Alex, and I'm glad Alex brought this up in his review. Thank you, Alex, if you brought that up because I mentioned it. If not, that's okay too. But basically, the red lighting from a story perspective makes the Fiend unstoppable. As long as you, his opponent, are facing him in a match, non-title or title, and the red lighting's on, you might as well forget about winning the match. You may take the Fiend to the limit, you may beat him down, kick him, batter him, whatever. That red lighting's just basically, that's like spinach to Popeye. That's like his spinach. That's like spinach to Popeye. He pops, basically just makes him stronger, pops him up, and it's like, you can chop it like this, and it goes like, really? Boom, down you go, and 1, 2, 3. That's it. My guess is what they're planning to do is because WrestleMania is going to be outdoors, the red lighting is not going to be effective. And if the plan, unfortunately, and I know people don't want to hear this, is to have him lose, have him be built up in a manner to where it's Roman Reigns that beats him, and it's revealed that without the red light, he's weak and he's just normal Bray Wyatt under a mask, so be it. And here's the thing. I don't want to disappoint anybody as far as the Fiend goes. I think it's a great concept. I think it's a great move. It's really revitalized Bray's career, Wyndham Rotundo's career. That's his real name. I think it's a great move. But where do you go from here after this match? Because this was a good match. It did what it did. It basically helped build Bryan back up as being a sympathetic babyface that needs to be rebuilt. I know Alex mentioned that he kind of laid on the ground, rejected, like, why am I letting myself be brought back into this stuff? Why am I, not, going with my gut feeling and just, or going with what I decide to do and just be done with the yes movement, stuff like that. Here's the thing. What they're doing with Daniel Bryan, I think, is a great storytelling, because if you have Daniel win the Royal Rumble, and maybe he's the one that faces the Fiend, and then realizes over time, you know what, the last time I faced you, you beat me because you have red light, but guess what, we're on the outside, there's no way the red light's going to help you here, because even if it shows, it won't be able to follow you if we're outside the ring. So if that's what they're building up to with Bray Wyatt's character, and again, it's a great build for him, and if that's what they're going to probably do with Daniel, if he's going to be maybe the one that faces Bray at WrestleMania and beats him, it's great storytelling, I'll give it that. The thing is, though, I don't think Daniel's turning heel or anything. Let's be honest with that. He's going to be a tweener. He's going to be a guy that's heelish, but fans are behind him. He's going to be a guy that tells it like it is and says, look, I know you want to yes move it back, but let's be honest, it's what held me down. It worked one time. It's not going to work right now. So, whatever they're planning to do with Daniel, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Now, again, getting back to the Fiend, as much as I hate to say this, I don't think the Fiend character is going to last much longer. Hear me out. Because, again, this match was good. It did everything it should have. It got the fans behind Daniel, but he did lose in the end. But where do you go with the Fiend from here? My guess is, as crazy as this sounds, Matt Hardy's not doing anything right now. Do you not think maybe they're thinking of bringing Woken Matt Hardy back in to be the one to combat the Fiend? Think about that. You want to get him to a certain point at WrestleMania. You want him, because the thing that the Fiend's going by is he doesn't forget, doesn't forgive. Basically, it's the Fiend saying, Bray doesn't forget what you did to him, guys, and he's not going to forgive you. So, what if his next target's Matt Hardy? What if that's the next on his list? What if it's Woken Matt Hardy that faces The Fiend? That's something interesting. Because because here's the thing, if you're going to build towards The Fiend and The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Roman Reigns at Mania, or The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Daniel Bryan at Mania, or heck, even The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and The Undertaker at WrestleMania, you need something for him to do in between. You need somebody to feud with him, somebody that, from a story perspective, could expose the weakness of The Fiend, be just as crazy as The Fiend. And what better way than bringing in Woken/broken Matt Hardy? It makes sense. It works. That to me should be his next opponent. If I was booking the direction, booking The Fiend in the direction I think he should go. Again, though, that's my opinion. My opinion. So yeah, The Fiend ends up winning, but the match, in ring wise, did its job. Quality wise and story wise, it did its job as well. Where they go with both of them here is a total question. I know one thing that people are not going to probably be happy about is if they put The Fiend in a TLC match and they have his belt extended up high. Yeah, he'll probably win that, but there's going to be people that are going to be fearful, but that could be the kind of match that he doesn't win, and that he might temporarily lose the belt, but then get it back in time so he could defend it at WrestleMania. That would be the only bump in the road. So yeah, The Fiend ends up winning, but again, the red lighting is basically like, that's his spinach. That's like spinach to Popeye. That's what the red lighting is to The Fiend. So, next up, we have the men's Survivor Series match. Team SmackDown, Team Raw, and Team NXT. On Team Raw, you had Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Kevin Owens, and Seth, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Kevin Owens, and who else did they have? Let me check again, guys. Sorry about this. Randy Orton. Okay, so they had Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Ricochet, and Drew McIntyre. And on Team SmackDown, you had Roman Reigns, King Corbin, Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, Chad Gable / Shorty G, and Braun Strowman. And then on Team NXT, you had Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, and who else did they have? They had Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Damian Priest, Tommaso Ciampa. Trying to think, they had somebody else. Trying to think what they had. Hold on for a second, guys. Let me see who they had. Maybe Wikipedia is going to bring it up for me. Sorry. And Walter, that's who it was. So Team NXT had Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter. And Walter got a big chant, Allstate in Chicago. That is. Um, this was a good match. The storytelling was good between both sides because, again, just like with the women's Survivor Series match, it was about unity between both teams. It was about the fact that NXT, I should say, was more united than the other teams. And it was good. Everybody got a chance to shine here. They really did. There was a lot of moments in there like, oh, I would love to see this match come to fruition for real. Or I'd love to see this. I'd love to see that. Because you had stare-offs with Ciampa and Orton, almost like the past looking into the present. You had Lee look across from Braun Strowman, Walter across from Braun Strowman. There was a lot of opportunities there. And the match overall was good. I mean, there is one complaint that a lot of people are not happy about. And that is basically WWE and whoever booked this match making your United Kingdom champion, your WWE/NXT United Kingdom champion, Walter, who's a freaking dominant beast on that brand, look like a B, you know what I'm saying? A B star. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't cool. I'll admit that. You should, if you're going to bring someone like Walter in, you make him look like a freaking beast. Anyway, the match was good. Everybody got a chance to shine. Braun Strowman got to do his, go around the ring routine, knocking everybody for a loop. And they sold the impact of that. Like, Rollins and Ricochet did flips in midair, 360s, if you will. Ciampa went into the crowd. And when he was going around a second time to do it, Keith freaking Lee stops and pounces him right into the steel steps, causes Braun to be counted out. So overall, the match was good. The storyline-wise was the dissension in the groups. Like, Kevin Owens, he's good buddies with Ciampa. And he had a choice between either Frog Splashing Ciampa or Chad Gable. He went with Gable, eliminated him. But as soon as Owens went to the outside, I guess to capitalize on something, he came back, capitalized kind of, I don't know what he was doing. I gotta look at the match again. He gets caught up in a short arm DDT off the ropes by Ciampa, and Ciampa eliminates him. It looked like a small package to me. I don't know. So, anyway, Alex was having a laugh about that doing his review because it's like, yeah, Owens, you didn't want to splash Ciampa and eliminate him when you had a chance, but he eliminated you when he had his. So anyway, the match basically comes down to two members of the Shield, the two remaining members in WWE of that group, and Tommaso Ciampa and Keith Lee. And even though it takes a bit, Rollins and Roman kind of nostalgically go back to being Shield members. They eliminate Tommaso Ciampa, and then they kind of go at each other for a bit. But then it's Keith Lee that comes in and kind of goes up against him. And I'm going to give WWE credit. When it became clear that Keith Lee was going to be the remaining member of NXT, and he was going up against two of the top guys in WWE, whether you like it or not, it's like, that's not just a Triple H decision to have Keith Lee be the last one. That's a freaking Vince McMahon decision. Because you can't tell me Vince doesn't look at Keith Lee, hasn't seen his work thanks to maybe some video he's seen courtesy of Triple H, and go like, oh, Keith Lee, he's money. Let me have Keith Lee on Raw or SmackDown. He'll make me money. You can't tell me that wasn't a Vince move. It was. And you know why it was a Vince move? Because how many people from NXT, unless he sees money, and he's convinced possibly also by his son-in-law, does he see, and maybe some of the participants in the match, does he see money in? I mean, Randy Orton, unless Randy said, hey, let Matt Riddle pin me because I think there's a future with this guy for you. Unless Randy had a say in that, or Triple H did, Vince obviously sees money in Matt Riddle. And he sees money in Keith Lee. So obviously it was a collaborated decision made between Vince and Triple H, in my opinion, and maybe the superstars involved, to put these NXT stars in the spotlight and have them get the pinfall victory over top established talent like a Randy Orton and a Seth freaking Rollins. Because Keith Lee hit his Nova Bomb, or his Nova Bomb, I think, on Rollins and pinned him clean. And unless Vince McMahon sees something in you, he don't let that happen to his top guys. In the end, it came down to Keith Lee, Roman Reigns. These guys had a great exchange. Keith Lee hits a spirit bomb. I'm thinking Keith Lee's going to win. That doesn't happen. Roman kicks out of it. And then a little after that, hits a spear that turns Keith Lee inside out. 1, 2, 3. Team SmackDown wins the Men's Survivor Series match. Now at the end, you had a show of respect between the two, with Roman putting his fist out like that for Keith. Keith acknowledged it. And basically, to me, that's not just respect being shown. That's an endorsement from one top guy, from one of the top guys in WWE to a future top guy. Because again, you cannot tell me, you cannot watch any review out there and not mention to that person that's doing the review that the Keith Lee being the last man standing for NXT was just a Triple H booking decision. No, that was a collaborated decision between Vince and Triple H, because Vince sees money in guys like Keith Lee and even Matt Riddle, because he does not let his former, Universal Champ, a guy that was just recently his Universal Champion, get pinned that easily and that clean by someone like Keith Lee. Or he lets someone like Matt Riddle roll up and pin his 13-time world champion, a guy that's been with him since about 2002, that easily by someone that made a name for himself in evolving on the indies. And recently was in a bit of trouble at times. Unless he sees this, and maybe somebody convinced him of that. And maybe after a few watches of matches, it's like, yeah, because I can see Vince looking at a few Matt Riddle matches, looking at how Matt Riddle acts, seeing how the response the fans give him, in the same way with Keith Lee, and going like, you know what? These guys do have money written all over them. He sees dollar signs. So after that, we go into the WWE Championship match, Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio. Not much to really say, because pretty much we knew Brock was going to win, even though we were hoping maybe they'd pull an upset. And it looked like they did. Now, there was a moment in the match, because as soon as the bell rang, Rey went out, got the pipe, was going to get ready to use it. Brock leaves the ring. Basically, he baits and switches Rey to come back into the ring, and that's when he starts attacking Rey, kicks the pipe away, and for about 5 to 6 minutes just obliterates Rey in and out of the ring. It isn't until Dominic comes in with a white towel to throw in the towel kind of situation. And here's what's interesting about this. And Alex, if you're watching, I hope you realize what just happened there. Because if not, I read this on Twitter. It was reported, I think, by ringsidenews.com or somebody, that stated what happened there when Dominic came in with the white towel, and Brock Lesnar took the towel from him and then threw it away, but that allowed Rey enough time to hit the low blow. You know what that was? That was WWE, mostly Triple H, I'm guessing, taking a shot at AEW and what happened at Full Gear. Yeah, that's what it was. You don't believe me? Look it up. Because that's what it was. That was WWE taking a shot at All Elite Wrestling, and the angle they pulled at Full Gear with MJF and Cody. MJF trying to throw in the towel for his best friend. So, yeah, that's what it was. It was a shot. But what happened afterwards is both, like I said, Ray and Dominic hit low blows. Both hit simultaneous. Both hit Brock with weapons, the pipe, and a chair, sending up Brock for a 619. And you think Ray's going to hit it? No. Both hit the 619. Then Dominic gets up, gets on the top rope, hits a freaking frog splash on Brock, followed up by Ray doing one. Both try to cover Brock for the win because it's no holds barred, no disqualification. That doesn't work. So Brock's still down. So Dominic goes back up to the top rope to try to hit maybe a moonsault. Brock catches him, suplexes him back, which Dominic sold like death a little bit. And then Ray jumps off the other side of the ring, off the other top rope. Brock catches him, F5, 1, 2, 3. Brock ends up winning and retaining the match. And as they're going up the ramp, you could hear, Paul Heyman going like, that was too close, and all that. Because now they realize someone like Rey Mysterio, you push him too far, is willing to do whatever it takes to win. So it was a good match. It did what it did. But I don't think this is the last time we're going to get Ray and Brock for the championship. I think we got one more match coming out of them. I think we got one more match to come out of them. Then, next up was the main event. The last tri-branded matchup for Supremacy. It was Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion. Bayley, who came out dressed up looking like Cleo freaking Patra almost. Or, as they would say, the childlike princess. Somebody actually put a gif of a picture of the childlike princess from Neverending Story as a comparison, but I think it was mostly Cleopatra. Like I said, that's what Bayley was dressed up as, and she's the SmackDown Women's Champion. So I had to think about what I was saying, what I was going to say right there next. I was getting a little distracted checking things here and there. And then of course you had Shayna Baszler, the NXT Women's Champion. And what can you say about this match? Except maybe it wasn't the best idea to close it. You could definitely tell it was a Stephanie McMahon move, though. Stephanie McMahon, Triple H move. But I'll give it this. It was... excuse me. I'll give it this. Despite the fact that it was slow-paced and methodically slow-paced, I thought it was good. I thought it was all right. Everybody predicted either Bayley or Becky to win. I don't think anybody saw Shayna winning, but I'm going to say this. I think they made the right move. I think, honestly, when I look at it, I think they did the right thing putting Shayna over. Because, one, you're building, because here's the thing. You're building on one, because you got this feud going on between her and Rhea on NXT, right? Who's the toughest, who's the toughest badasses, who's the most badass bleep, if you know what I'm saying, if you get what I'm saying, in NXT. So you're building the program up between those two to see who's the baddest, the toughest. Which is why they had Rhea look as tough and defiant as she was over the past 24 hours with what happened at War Games and at what happened at Survivor Series tonight. So Shayna going over Bayley and Becky, it makes her look tough, not only because of the beating she took in War Games, and then coming back and then going through this match, as slow and methodical as it might have been, it builds her up a little bit, and thus it builds up the question, who's the toughest, Rhea or Shayna? Who's the toughest badass woman, excuse my language here, but badass woman in NXT? Who's the most legit badass between the two? But also what it does, as crazy as this might sound, is it sets up a future program between Shayna and Becky, whether people want to like it or not. Because if you're going to get to Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania next year, you need Becky to go through someone that's very similar in style to Ronda, and that's Shayna Baszler. And everybody was expecting Ronda to come back tonight to cost Becky the match to build to it. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to do one more matchup between Becky and Becky and Shayna, where if Becky wins and beats Shayna, champion versus champion, then Ronda Rousey has to come back and fight Becky at WrestleMania. So Becky legitimately, from a storyline perspective, can prove that this year's WrestleMania victory over Ronda was not a fluke. Because I think that's what they're going to build towards, is Becky proving to the world, I did not beat you on a fluke, Ronda. I can beat you just like I beat your friend. So I think that's what they plan to do. But like I said, Shayna Baszler ends up winning. She hits it. She locks into the clutch that she has, that Cauliflower clutch, whatever it's called. Bayley, as soon as Bayley tries to hit the flying elbow, Bayley ends up tapping. But Shayna's not the one to get the last word, even though she's gloating. NXT wins 4 wins to 2 wins to 1 win. And oh, by the way, Raw's the one that got the 1 win. So, and that's on the pre-show. But yeah, Shayna ends up winning. But as she's gloating, Becky, who she basically powerbombed, it looked like, onto the table, she gets back up and basically starts beating the crap out of Shayna. She hits a leg drop on Shayna through, I think it's the French announce table. Well, not French announce table, the German announce table. And she's the one that stands tall, and they send the fans home happy with her. Even though she lost the match, she wasn't the one that got pinned or submitted. And I think that's what they're building towards for maybe TLC or the Royal Rumble. Becky versus Shayna, where maybe the stipulation is if Becky beats Shayna, then Becky gets another crack at Ronda, and she'll even put the Raw Women's title on the line to prove that the win at WrestleMania was not a fluke. I think that's what they're going with. I could be wrong. But overall, I liked the match. But overall, I thought the match was okay, even though it was slow and methodical. I thought it was good. You know, it makes Shayna look strong going in with her program with Rhea. It makes Becky still look strong because Shayna did not beat her, so you got that question out there. So overall, despite how people might have felt about it, I thought the match was good. I thought it was okay for what it was. Should have closed out the show? I think they should have ended. I will agree. They should have ended with the triple threat men's elimination match. That's what I think they should have done. But I could see why they did it, because they want to start building to Becky and Ronda. They want to get Becky back into that main event spotlight to get to that moment. So overall, I thought the match was all right, and the event was good overall. Survivor Series was good overall. Here's the thing, though. I'm just gonna say this. I'm not particularly a fan of the brand supremacy deal, because I can understand why they had NXT look united and everything, despite you have various rivalries and feuds going on there. You know, they had a point to prove, so they basically said, you know what, tonight we have a point to prove, let's put our differences aside. So I could see that. You know, but particularly I'm not a fan of but honestly, I'm just not a fan of the brand supremacy. I liked it better when, even though they were on different brands, you were able to pair certain superstars up with each other on traditional Survivor Series teams. You know, going back to, what was it, between 2005 and I think 2008, 2009, that was something that I enjoyed, because it didn't matter, what brand you were a part of. You know, if you were a heel, you teamed up with the heels. If you were a face, you teamed up with the faces. So I want them to go back to that, because it makes more sense, in my opinion, for them to go back to that. And I think people would appreciate it more, because not only do you still get like some dream matches, but you have a reason for a lot of these stars getting together. So honestly, like I said, I'm not particularly a fan of the brand supremacy deal. Uh, but I'll admit it worked tonight because it had its only sole purpose was to get NXT over because NXT's on USA. I guarantee you this: if NXT was still on WWE Network and they did this, that this would not have happened. NXT would not have gone over, and I think everybody knows that. But because they're on USA Network now, going up against AEW, putting them over was the most logical way of doing things. But overall, I thought the show was good. Again, you know, I'm hoping it. Again, I hope next year we go back to more of a traditional style. You know, with heels teaming up with heels and faces teaming up with faces. You know, where you have members of NXT teaming up with members of Raw and SmackDown face wise against heels in a similar manner, and have a reasoning for it to happen. So I'm hoping they go back to that next year. Overall, though, I enjoyed the event. The only thing I didn't like, and I'm wondering if I'm the only one, and I'm thinking and believing I'm not the only one that dealt with this. But did anybody else have any glitchy problems? Glitchy kind of buffering problems with their live stream of Survivor Series on the network? Because I did. There were times it would skip ahead, rewind, buff. Heck, I grabbed my remote here, honestly. I grabbed my remote here to see what was going on after they buffed like a couple of times. And instead of saying live, it just showed me the time frame that it was at. So I'm like, really? What are you doing here? My guess what was going on is because they do the replay, is they were already building on the replay. They're trying to put the replay together. So that's my guess. I don't know. But yeah, did anybody else have some problems with the network? Or was it just me? Curious. But anyway, though, I enjoyed Survivor Series. I thought it was good. I'm just hoping they go back to more of a traditional Survivor Series elimination format. And I would say, you did your job. You did what you set out to do tonight with Survivor Series, and that's to put NXT over as the brand to see on Wednesday nights in when it comes to wrestling and all that. You set out to do your goal. You accomplished that. That's fine. Can you go back to regular traditional Survivor Series elimination matches next year and kind of put a hold on the brand supremacy deal for maybe another few years until maybe you bring it back? I mean, I'll put it this way. They want to keep doing the brand supremacy deal. That's fine. But do it. Dedicate a week to it. Make Raw, SmackDown, and NXT special editions where you have these matches, and then maybe you have some kind of payoff on one of the brands with a battle royal or an elimination match, and there you go. Because unless, like Deluxe Man said, unless you're really going to give something out as a major award for whoever wins, like the 30th entry in the Royal Rumble for both the men and the women, or the main event of WrestleMania, or the main event of all your big five pay-per-views like Royal Rumble, Mania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, unless you plan that to be the reward, there's no real point in this continuing. And I'm hoping that maybe if they continue it next year, that they put something on the line. They put something on the line, or something at stake for the winning brand, and to achieve and have at the end of the night, or to be given to them at the end of the night. But if not, I say go back to the traditional Survivor Series way of things, where you have established heels on one side, established baby faces on another, and go with that. That's what I feel should be done. I really do. And you know what? You can even still do Survivor Series in elimination wise, because if you still want to include NXT in it, you have tons of rivalries and feuds on there. Well, one side you can have a bunch of baby faces on a women's Survivor Series team against a bunch of women heels on another, and there's your Survivor Series match representing NXT. Same with the men. Same with SmackDown. Same with Raw. Hey, it happened in the past. You could do it again. So again, I'm not saying that, I'm not a fan of, look, I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the brand supremacy deal. I just think maybe after this, take a break from it and go back to more traditional Survivor Series elimination matches. So, well, it was where you had clear-cut baby faces teaming up against clear-cut heels. I'm just saying. So overall, though, I like the event, and I'll probably go back and watch it. Hopefully, with the replay, they don't have any issues either. But let me know what you guys thought of Survivor Series. Comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What did you think of it? And would you prefer it to go back to more traditional ways? Or do you think if they continue this, that there should be a major award for the winning brand at the end? So let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. And I will talk to you all later. Thank you all for watching live. Appreciate it. I'm out.